It would have been late 2019 when I first heard about Jojo Rabbit. Taika Waititi dressed up as Hitler, poking fun at the Third Reich. That was the elevator pitch from my friends. Well, friends, I thought, colour me interested. Taika's a clever bugger, and living down this end of the planet, I guess I've already been exposed to more of his stuff than other people out there in the big wide world, and I know if he's doing something, it'll be good. He's that kind of filmmaker. And suffice to say, dear viewer, I'm really looking forward to his Star Wars feature film if it ever gets off the ground. But we're getting into the reeds now. Back to Jojo Rabbit. Like so many films and books and audios and albums, Jojo was one of those films people told me to watch and that I definitely like the look of, but I never seemed to have time to catch. Even a year or so after the film's release, when I noticed someone had put the opening scene of the film up here on YouTube, which is a glorious mashup of the Beatles doing the German version of I Want to Hold Your Hand, also known as Komm gib mir deine Hand, over footage of screaming German girls welcoming Hitler in newsreel footage as if he's one of the Beatles, I was telling myself I definitely had to see this thing, but I still wasn't taking that final step. I'm sure we all have films like that in our lives that we keep meaning to see, and for some reason we don't. All of that changed one day, however. The stars aligned, dogs and cats started living together, and I saw it. And wow, what a film. Seriously, what a film. Jojo Rabbit has completely goofy humour. That mashup with the Beatles was only the beginning, dear viewer, which is obviously super appealing and a great way to poke fun at anything, let alone Nazism. Yet, the film also has much darker tones. Reasonably early in the film, you go from some totally silly stuff one moment to a village square where some men and women have been hung. It's a real record scratch sort of moment. But then it's back to the goofiness again. The film flip-flops throughout and is so finely balanced and well done. It's a genuine credit to the writing, direction, and editing. It's amazingly coherent despite its really significant tonal shifts from one thing to another. The young English actor Roman Griffin Davis absolutely smashes it out of the park as the titular Jojo and carries the film effortlessly, which is really no mean feat when he's got Sam Rockwell and Scarlett Johansson really going for it behind him, albeit in very different ways to each other. Not to mention Rebel Wilson and Stephen Merchant just stealing scenes in some smaller roles whenever they show up in the story. Of course, Waititi's Hitler is delicious as well, switching from Jojo's best imaginary friend to something incredibly sinister by the end of the film as Jojo slowly falls out of love with Nazism, swastikas, the Reich, the whole 9 yards. So without going into spoiler territory, because you should know by now, I'm not a monster, the treatment of the Jews during World War II is at the heart of the film, and done in such a personal way that it brings home the human cost of the Holocaust in a way that big numbers in history books often doesn't. And with Waititi growing up with his mother's surname Cohen and being part Jewish himself, I'd be fascinated to know more about his take on the source material, which is a 2008 book called Caging Skies. Unfortunately, my DVD had nothing in the way of extras, nada, zip, not even a trailer, let alone any featurettes or commentaries. It's extraordinary how in 20 years we've gone from DVD releases trying to give us the world, like trailers, commentaries, documentaries, stills galleries, isolated musical scores and the like, to releases like this where the film is absolutely fantastic, but its home media version is lacking big time. Again, to say much more about Jojo Rabbit will really start to give the game away on some pretty major aspects, so let's wrap this up for today. This is a brilliantly written and directed piece with great performances. Even Jojo's friend Yorki, played by a young actor who's absolutely not operating at the same level of Davis's Jojo performance, is always a welcome sight anytime he comes on. He's a real delight. This is a great film, which, if you've never seen it before, you should seriously consider watching. But please, I cannot underscore enough that there's some real gut punches in this one. Amid the humour that you might see in trailers and whatnot, there are some scenes that really affected me, and which will probably affect you too. Very tragic stuff. The kind of stuff that makes you think. The kind of stuff that has you reaching back into the World War II history in your head and connecting the dots and thinking, wow, we really don't realise when we have life so good compared to what, a mere 75 years ago people were going through.